What's up out there? We are back to some more Path of Exile 1 Keepers of the Flame League, and I am now pretty much caught up with where I get every league. I've got the Eater and the Exarch down. I did the Maven 10-way today. I mean, there's more I could do. I could gear up and try to fight the Elder and the Shaper and stuff like that, but this is Thursday night, and sometime Friday or Saturday, we're getting Escape from Tarkov 1.0. And I fully plan on diving into that, at least until I get frustrated and quit. So I don't want to say this is like the end of the league for me, but this is going to be a stopping point in the league. I was really not sure that I was going to get the Eater and the Exarch down. When I fought the Eater the other day, it was miserable. I did not do a very good job at it, and I died very easily. So I was sitting there last night, and I spent a bunch of time just kind of working on my build, trying to fix all the problems that I was running into with it, and ended up getting to the point where I felt like I was like, oh, whatever. I had both invitations sitting there last night, and I wasn't really wanting to try them, but it was kind of a YOLO moment, and I went in and pretty much easily beat the Eater. I almost did it undefeated. Got down to the very smallest sliver. I should have recorded it, but I got down to the very smallest sliver, and then got caught in the thing where you got the doom or whatever that is, where you got to put the little, light up the little bubbles or whatever. I got caught in one of those. Just, it was bad placement on the bubbles, and I ended up dying. So the Eater fight went well, and I was like, well, I'll try the Exarch. And then the Exarch fight was a little bit more difficult. I didn't do very well on that one at all. The ball phase just always kills me, but the DPS on my build was really good. And I've adjusted some other things today and made a few more changes. So I think my DPS yesterday was right around 1 million DPS, something like that, 980,000, 1 million, somewhere in that realm. And today POB says I'm sitting at like 1.2 million. And so my tooltip DPS, if I look at the tooltip DPS over here in the game itself, I'm at 1 million today. So I don't know how much slop factor there is in POB. Like, I'm not the best at selecting all the right things for calculations and stuff like that. So it could be a little bit higher. I have 1 million in-game tooltip today. So I would imagine it's a little bit higher over, as you know, 1.2 million might be right. But it feels like it might be a little bit higher. And, you know, I don't know. I'm not the greatest at calculating that. But anyway, long story short, Eater, Exarch's down, Maven 10-way's down. I could certainly go on and try to do some other things, but we've got Escape from Tarkov coming up. But I wanted to talk about where my build got, where it currently is, because this is a bit of a different build than last league, and I ran into some slightly different issues this league because I was doing things a little bit differently. And I just figured I'd run through and talk about what I've changed on this. So first and foremost, I was dying very easily. And I was looking at the POB that I had from last league with the slightly different build. Like this league, I'm doing all crit-based stuff with this Flesh Ripper thing, as opposed to a regular axe with just straight DPS and impale damage and things like that. And I had a lot more armor then than I do now. And I was also running one aura as opposed to multiple auras, and blood magic instead of, you know, just mana and stuff like that. So I was running into some different issues this time, and I was trying to figure out how I fixed those things last league. And what I determined is that I needed to put determination in my build. So when I did that, I ended up having to kick out both vitality and precision. And I was like, well, that kind of sucks because that loses me some precision. So I lose some of my accuracy and lose a little bit of my vitality. So that was using up mana. Well, I was like, all right, well, I'll try arrogance out. I didn't really like arrogance all that much. It reserves life and everything, and my life was already kind of short. So at 3,600 life, whatever it was that I had, because it's gone up and down slightly as I've adjusted things. But when I put those on and did arrogance, especially as I started leveling everything up, it just wasn't quite, it sucked. I was down to like, I don't know, 2,800 life or something like that. It was getting pretty bad. And that was taking into account running down here to Champion of the Cause so I could pick up the mastery node down here that is 20% increased life reservation efficiency of skills. It just didn't help all that much. And I don't really like reserving all that much life. I guess I could see doing that if I was running a big energy shield build or something. Maybe that would be the way to do it. I'm not sure. I need to, like, that's a whole other thing to explore someday, running a low life build or something like that. But I don't know. I just didn't like it. So I was trying to figure out how I could keep all of that stuff going and just get enough mana reservation efficiency and things like that. And basically what I ended up settling on is just running, what do I have them down here? No, that's my determination and purity of elements. So I ended up coming down here with vitality and precision and then just locking them at skill level 1 or gem level 1. That way they don't eat into my mana too much. I could go into it a little bit further, but I am trying to run this Molten Shell cast when damage taken setup. And I also needed mana to run for my Leap Slam and things like that. So like I still needed some mana to function. So I couldn't reserve all of it. So I was like, all right, it's going to kind of leave all this in here. I could probably life tap. I could life tap Leap Slam, I suppose. That might be a good solution. I'm already life tapping Molten Shell. You know what? Maybe I could do all that. Life tap that whole thing, then I don't have to worry about it, and then I can reserve a little bit more mana. The problem is once you start reserving too much mana, these start turning off. So you have to be really pay a lot of attention when you're leveling these things up and not go too far. Because I was like, well, is it just going to keep going? And yeah, it just kind of keeps going. So yeah, I could probably maybe set this up for throwing. Well, I could throw. Yeah, I'll have to look at that later. But I could throw life tap in with all this and rework all that. So I ended up messing around with all of that, came into having determination on here, and I was looking at trying to get like capture Merveil. I don't have enough of the little vessels to capture Merveil. I did get the Siebert one, and I got the Leaf one, so I don't have to worry about corrupted blood. I decided not to go do the Merveil one this time, and the reason I decided not to do that is I actually like Purity of Elements. From a defensive layer, you're immune to Ignite, Chill, Freeze, Shock, and I can't be stunned. So I'm pretty much invulnerable to just about everything with between Unwavering Stance and Purity of Elements. The only thing I have to worry about is probably Burning Ground or something like that, and Poison, stuff like that. But this like eliminated a lot of issues that I was running into last league where I'd get ignited or I'd get you get freeze immunity, and chill kind of sucks. It slows you down. Shock, I always take shock damage and stuff like that. But with this thing on here, it just kind of eliminates all that. I would love to run haste. I need to figure out how I can get a lot more mana reservation efficiency on here, which I'm guessing is all in jewel sockets and things like that. It's just something I've not really explored. It's probably a lot of those unique jewels and things that I don't have, so I need to go work on all that. But at any rate, if I could fit haste in here, it would be great. If not, I've got determination, which is fine. I'm also getting vitality for a little bit of life regen. It's not much, but it's just a little bit. And then precision, as much as I can. And then running purity of elements. It seems like a really good combination of things, which allows me to run different, Pantheon stuff. So I ended up taking this one, so I get 1% the Soul of Lunaris, so I get additional damage reduction for each nearby enemy up to 8%, and then increased movement speed for each nearby enemy. I kind of like that. This also gives me a chance to avoid projectiles. The one that I really want is avoid projectiles that have chained. I don't know that that's really big, but it seems like it might be helpful. And then the reduced elemental damage reduced elemental damage taken if you've been hit recently. I need to get both of those. And then, like I said, I took the corrupted blood one, so I don't have to worry about corrupted blood being put on. So that kind of solves almost all the ailments that I run into with the builds that I normally have. And I'm probably going to keep this in mind for future. Last league, when I was running blood magic, I had no interest in running purity of elements because that would be the only thing I could run with the blessing, whatever that support gem is that only lets you run one aura. So you're kind of limited to what you can take. It's either going to be haste or determination or something like that. And I think last league I sacrificed out haste to run determination so I have more armor, and that's what I ended up doing this league. But I can also run purity of elements and take advantage of that. If I could get some more mana reservation efficiency in here or get enough in here, I could level up precision and vitality and have a little bit more accuracy and life regen. Like my life regen is at 438. And if we turn this off, we're going to 427. Like, it's not great, but it's a little bit more than what I had. And same thing with precision. Like it's not a ton. We're getting 97% versus 96. It does give me a little bit more DPS by having that extra accuracy. So it's all good. Let's see. I had at one point, I was running over into, I thought I was going to get a little bit more life regen out. I had like 700 and some life regen when I was running vitality, like level 17, 18, whatever that gem was, and then had the 2 points over here for life regen. I had like 700 or 800 points of life regen, which is just not enough to take big hits. It recovers fast, but it doesn't prevent the hits from being taken, obviously. So it was not really helping as much as I thought it would. So I ended up taking those 2 points out. Like I said, at some point I came in here and tried Champion of the Cause to get that life reservation efficiency. It didn't do as much as I thought it was going to do. And then I ended up just putting the points over here into this life mastery for plus 30 to max life. And then this life mastery for 15% increased max life if there are no life modifiers on the body armor, which I don't have anything on this one. So I get, I get the little bit more life, and that brought me up from, I think I was at like 3,400 life, something like that, up to 3,674, which is where I'm at now. And then the other thing I did is I went into Abyss and chased down a couple of Stygian Vices. I wanted to get my resistances squared away. So my resistances are well squared away. I could make some concessions on this and change some things. So I'm going to look at rebalancing all this. The other kind of interesting thing is normally I run 2 amethyst flasks or amethyst rings. And for this league, I didn't have to, because this ring's got, the 23% implicit, and then it's got another 35% chaos built into it. And then something else I've got on here has some, there's 15% chaos res there. I feel like there was something else that I had, but I've got a ton of chaos res coming from other sources. So I was like, all right, cool. I don't have to run 2 of these things. That means I can get, my resistances taken care of. Like with this one here, I get cold and fire and everything, get a little bit of life regen, some extra mana. It just helped out a little bit more. And with that kind of setup, that's pretty much how I defeated the Eater and the Exarch yesterday. Now I've gone on some other changes today. So one thing that I changed is, let's see. Oh, one comment on the Eater and the Exarch fight. While I was fighting them, I don't think I was getting that many critical strikes on them. Like I've got a 46% chance, 46.19% chance to get a critical strike, which I know is not 100%, so it's not going to be as often. But I didn't see my flasks going off at all. So I was piano keying through the flasks while I was fighting, at least the Exarch. I don't remember the Eater so much because I had to move around a lot, but the Exarch at least, because you can stand around him and just spin around in circles for a lot of the fight. And I didn't notice these going off. So I don't know if they have critical chance reduction or something like that. I'm not sure on that fight, or if it was on the Eater one. Like I said, I didn't record either one, and it just seemed like my potions weren't getting charges, or my flasks weren't getting charges. So that was a little weird. I didn't like that. Normally I would have my flasks set to gain charge on hit. So every time you take a hit, and I would try to get these to 2 or 3 charges per hit or something like that. And these fill up fairly quickly, and I don't usually have a problem, but I need to get better flasks. Obviously I need to roll these a little bit better and stuff like that. Because I'm using the Flesh Ripper and the crit and all that, I went ahead and put these to gain charge on crit, which is good for mapping. It's fine. But like I said, fighting the Exarch, it was a little bit different, and I didn't seem to be gaining charges, and I didn't have stuff going off as much. What made me notice it a lot was not my movement speed sucked, and I'm like, why is my Quicksilver Flask not going off? So that was kind of an issue. Today I went out and visited the Breach Tree, and I got this axe, which is slightly better than the other axe that I had. I don't have an Exalt, so I can't get the best increased fizz damage. I could improve this one a little bit, but this was better than the other axe that I had. I like that tree. I hope they make that tree core, because that was pretty cool. You can actually maneuver the thing, and like, this is the axe it spit out after I put my points in. I wanted crit chance, I wanted fizz damage, stuff like that. It spit this axe out, and I'm like, man, that is perfect. And it was slightly better than the one that I had. So, I mean, I'm sure there's better axes out there, but for what I was looking for and for what this thing spit out, it was better than what I had, gave me a little more DPS. So that was something that I made a change today. And then my movement speed was super slow. I avoided in last league, I definitely put in this rage mastery for 1% increased movement speed per 5 rage. And I looked at this, I had that point taken earlier, like a couple of days ago, and it was cool and all, but it wasn't all that much of a difference the other day. Today, it makes a lot more difference. I don't know if I've got more rage or just the increased movement speed is higher because maybe I've got better boots or something. Because I did change these boots out at some point, but I ended up putting that back in today, leveled up a couple of times. I am currently level 93. So the last level I put on this and the movement speed's been a lot better. So that was a definite change today. And then I put an amulet anoint on for divine fervor. There is the POB says this one over here for, I think fervor is the one that I should take for increased frenzy charges, but I don't have the currency for it. So I just went ahead and picked up divine fervor. This one I could grab. So it gives me an increased attack damage, critical strike chance, and strength and int, which is fine. That gives me a whole bunch of stuff. I could probably get rid of some int out of here too, because I had to take quite a bit to fill out some of my requirements for support gems and stuff like that. Things that I do need to improve would be more armor, more life, things like that. Like I'm running at 16,000 armor. If I throw this flask charge on here, we get 21,000. It goes up to maybe 30, 40,000 because I've got, no, I don't. Oh, no, it's this node here. Every rage also grants 1% increased armor. So I have 54 rage. So that gives me 54% increased armor, which is good. I keep thinking it's a mastery, but it's actually the node over here. So that helps out on my armor side. It all has to ramp up though. So I have to ramp up rage for movement speed, armor, attack speed, things like that. It all gets better. My damage, like my DPS right now is 318,000. If I go in and fight, it's over 1 million. So in the game, not POB. As mentioned earlier, I need to do something about my flask charge generation. I need to look for more flasks. I need to get better flasks. Like these are some still kind of old lower level flasks that I just kind of turned up along the way, and I have not found better ones yet. So I need to get those, get them set to gain charge on hit, and then use when full, that kind of thing. And then the other issue that I've noticed is my endurance and frenzy charges seem to drop off very quickly. And I don't know why that is, because I should be generating these on kill, and I get decent amounts of kills, like if I'm mapping or something like that. But I don't think I have something that's actually taking that's like using the endurance charges, unless it's one of these things that's using them up. See, this grants an endurance charge. I did swap these. Maybe I had one that was using something, but I'm not sure. I don't think they were using them up. But at any rate, it seemed like they were just timing out. Like I wasn't getting them recharged, you know. Maybe I need endurance charge duration or something like that. Like I'll probably come over here into this endurance charge. Maybe I need to increase charge length or something like that. But it feels like they're running out. It doesn't feel like it feels like they're dropping off, not getting taken away, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure about that. I don't know. It's a little frustrating because I look over there and I'm like, well, I'm back to 1 charge of each. So don't know. Otherwise, the build is going well. I also changed, let's see, I think I changed my implicits on this. We've got increased attack damage. Fizz recouped his life. We've got attacks have chance to cause bleeding. There's probably something better here, but I thought it'd be all right to put in a little bit extra DPS. I need to go. I don't think I had enough currency because this is a eater one. Yeah, this is an eater one. I bought some eater currency today, so I'll be able to swap that out. And then increased damage per frenzy charge. We've got increased damage per endurance charge over on the boots, and then life regen per endurance charge. So we're trying to ramp, again, as we get more endurance and frenzy charges, ramp up damage, and trying to keep those things running is difficult. There's some things that I could do with that. I think I just need to do a little research and see what I can do. I know I can do, what is it, bloodlust or bloodthirst, whatever that, blood rage, I think it is. I don't like that thing because you have to have enough life regen to account for it, but I could run that for the frenzy charges. And then I think there's something I can do on endurance charges, like with a war cry or something that I think I can automate that. I'm not sure because I think part of that's the buff effect, and you don't get the buff effect if you automate it. So I need to take a look at that. But then on here, I totally forgot about this. There is melee hits have chance to fortify. That's an eater one. I didn't have enough eater currency to get this. So like I said, I bought some eater currency today and rolled this up and I was like, oh, totally forgot about that. So we've got increased global fizz damage and melee hits have a chance to fortify. So basically I'm running around with fortify. That allowed me to drop my fortify support gem and throw in pulverize. I could use something else in here, but this is kind of what I'm running now is 2 red, 2 green, and 2 blue. So well, I guess what I would probably do is 3 blue, 1 red, and 2 green. That way I could run the increased crit chance. That would pull this up a little bit. Maybe I need to see if I can get some colors on that. I didn't have enough currency yesterday to roll all that. I ended up buying a whole bunch of stuff. I ended up going into Delve. As I've been leveling this character up, I go run Delve. So I trade Delve stuff off, whatever these things are down here, the fossils or whatever. I go trade those off, get some divs out of it or get some chaos and things like that. So then I ended up stocking up on Jeweler's Orbs, Orbs of Fusing, and Chromes. I was 6-linking a couple of things off the fusings, and then I was just out of Chromes. So I couldn't get this thing 6-linked. I ended up swapping over to this because I was looking at needing so many blue sockets. I needed 2, 2, and 2, and that's just almost impossible on an armor plate. So I looked over at this thing. I'm like, well, if I 6-link this is dex and strength for this thing. So that's a lot easier to get 2 of each. So that's why I ended up going this route. And that kind of catches us up to where we are. Again, I've got some other changes that I need to work on this build. I did mess around with a little bit of the other build that I've got, that assassin. I got it leveled up a little bit, threw some gear on it, kind of tinkered around with it. I've got plenty of this, the Eater and the Exarch stuff, so I can kind of mess around with that build a little bit. I also had some other ideas, like I would like to do, I noticed I'm getting a lot of stuns with this build. And one thing I'd love to try is to do maybe like a juggernaut or something and work in a bunch of stun. So there is a lot of 2-handed stun on here. Do like a mace or something like that and do a cyclone stun build just to see whether it works, see how it feels, what it can do with it. But I don't know, I had an idea for that. I'd still like to do, I still want to go around the whole ascendancies and do all that and try different stuff, Still want to do an Impale Champion Cyclone and, tinker around with all that other stuff. But the other thing I guess I should point out in this is somebody was asking about the Bloodline Ascendancies. I took a look at those. I don't really, number one, there's a lot of bosses that I just have never even seen or fought or beaten, so I'll just never get to them. I don't know if I've ever fought all or beaten him, but the only Bloodline Ascendancy that I thought actually looked good was the all one, because you could get the action speed cannot be modified lower or something, whatever the wording is. I thought that would be perfect because that would eliminate any, I think, temp chains or like freeze, chill, grasp. I don't know if it does grasping vines, but there's a whole bunch of things that just slow this build down, and it's action speed, which I think includes movement speed. I'm not sure on that, but it basically gives you you don't slow down. So you just keep moving, and slowing this build down, slowing down the attack speed and everything slows down the DPS or lowers the DPS and stuff like that. The other thing I'm not sure of is what I would take in its place. Like, maybe I would drop the Rite of Ruin. I do like having Gore Dancer because it gives me a bunch of leech, instant life leech. I do think that helps my build quite a bit. So the only thing I could conceivably drop off is Rite of Ruin. Otherwise I can't give up either one of these because these are the ones that lead, that each one of these leads to those. So it would have to either be Gore Dancer or Rite of Ruin. So I think it would be Rite of Ruin, and that would give me the attack speed can't be modified. I'd lose the 50% increased rage effect, but I would gain the not messing with my attack speed, basically. So it would be a lot more of an even experience. And I think that also applies to movement speed. I think action includes attack and movement. I'm not sure on that. Don't quote me on that. Could be wrong, but I think it might. But at any rate, this is my build. This is all crit based for this league. I did it Rage, Impale, Cyclone, Berserker last league. This is a crit, Rage, crit, Berserker this league. And I'm happy with it. It's different. It's probably on par with the one that I built last league. And I do like this crit setup. I wouldn't mind trying this elsewhere. The problem is, and kind of wrap all this up, on the crit side of everything, I think this is the weaker side for crit. You probably want to have swords because I think there's a lot of crit damage or crit chance with swords over here. There's increased accuracy. I think there is. Yeah, see the swords, there's a lot more chance. Well, that's dual wielding, but I feel like there's a lot more chance for crits with swords than there is axes. And there's definitely axes with more crit chance and stuff like that on it, I think. So I do believe that this is probably better served to play with. If I was going to do another crit based build, I should probably do that with a sword. I think that's part of my thinking. And then, if I was to do like a duelist of some sort with a crit based build, I would try and use a sword or something like that. I'm not sure. But I do like the concept of running crits on this. It's got about the same amount of DPS as my Impale build. I did look at actually changing this over to an Impale build, but to do that, I would have to get a whole nother axe and re-roll all that. Re-rolling stuff on the passive tree is not that difficult. You just pull out all these, go into the Impale based part, and then I could get rid of all this accuracy and I wouldn't have to worry about that. I could go into Resolute Technique again. I don't know where on damage wise it would be, but it wouldn't be that hard to change over. I mean, there's just, the Impale nodes are kind of right in the same ballpark. There was some over here. Sword play. No, Impale nodes here and here. So like, it's just a matter of moving some of this stuff slightly over and I could probably fix it all, but I have to get a better weapon. And then I would have to worry about dropping anything I have with crit chance and stuff like that, which I don't think is very much. But I did consider that to see how that worked. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The Impale version of this was about on par, I think, with the crit-based version. I just wish there was something I could do with crits. Like if I could, I thought about doing, because you can do spells, there's Exsanguinate and stuff like that. I thought about maybe running that. I thought about doing a crit-based Chieftain Cyclone with Exsanguinate on it, running that and seeing what happens, because there's a lot of things over here that maybe you could run, scale up spell damage and, kind of go that route. I don't know. Just some ideas that I had and was floating around in my head. But at any rate, I am not done with the league entirely. I am going to be done for a little bit while I go play Escape from Tarkov. I'm probably going to be back here, maybe just tinkering around with this when I get frustrated with Tarkov. But at any rate, I am very happy with where I'm at in the league. Eater, Exarch down, Maven 10 ways done. Don't know that I'm going to try to go for the Maven this league. I feel like I've accomplished everything that I want to in my league. I got my build done, got all the bosses I normally kill down, and I've got another build that I'm pretty happy with. And I can, I like the ability to tinker around with these builds and try new things and still end up with the same results. So at any rate, that is going to do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.